Hey folks, I'm Blair, and joining me today is the PD Cowboy.
Thanks, Blair. Today, folks, we're at Whitehaven Plantation in Bishopville, South Carolina, getting ready to bring you a Dressage Clinic, so lean back in the saddle. We'll be right back.
Horse Tales Today is brought to you by Southern Flooring and Interiors. Call them for all of your flooring and decorating needs. And by TMC Construction for your new home or all of your remodeling needs. Call TMC Construction. And by Yogi Bear Fried Chicken, the best fried chicken in the South. And by Chick-A-Ray Poultry, located in Hartsville, South Carolina. And by the South Carolina Horsemen's Council. And by Equestrian Images, making memories together.
Hey folks, joining me now is Toy Trent. Thank you so much for joining us, Toy.
You're welcome. Glad
Tell me a little bit about the riding that you were doing. I'm not very familiar with the dressage, and that was pretty impressive stuff out there.
Thank you. Yes, I am an FEI rider, which means that I ride could ride an international competition, and the tests that I do are close to the highest level that's offered. Dressage is an Olympic sport, and but we also have, of course, lower levels. So when a horse starts out, it starts out at training level, and then there's a training level first, second, third, fourth level, and then the FEI classes. And the FEI classes are Pre-St. George, Intermediate 1 and 2, and Grand Prix. Okay. So we're like at intermediate level and schooling for Grand Prix.
Okay. So have you done a lot of these clinics like you're doing today?
I have not done one with a Bereiter from the Spanish Riding School, but I've spent many years riding with Charles DeComfy, who teaches very similar, and so I'm very aware of the program that they do. So when I was just extremely excited that South Carolina was going to get a Bereiter here. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, did Marius teach you anything new?
What it's really good at is, like, at my level, is the things you've heard about it before. I mean, you know it, but everything is so minute, and the horse listens to every single little motion that you make. So it's great to have someone on the ground that can then, say more, no less, no this, that, and so he's very detailed, and then that really helps you to start feeling it, and then the horse can just do it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, what kind of horse do you ride? It's such a beautiful horse.
Oh, thank you. He is an Oldenburg, which is a warm blood breed. He was bred in the United States. His sire was imported from Germany, but he's American bred, and his name is Tiberius, and he's 11 years old.
My goodness, Blair, isn't it hot out here today?
It sure is. Look at me sweating. That brings us to our health tip of the day, the importance of keeping your horse cool. Here's your health tip for you.
Today's vet tip is being brought to you today by your local Clemson Extension Department.
Hi, I'm Dr. Maria Glinsky. I'm a veterinarian from Aiken, South Carolina. I have a health tip for you. Here in this hot summer heat in South Carolina, it's really important to keep your horse hydrated and cool. Seems like common sense, but there's lots of tips, lots of different things that you can do that you might not think of. First of all, you can rinse your horse off, get them nice and wet before they go in the horse trailer. If you're going on a trip, make sure they're hosed down first. The other thing is, if you're out on a trail, make sure you offer them water every chance you can. Let them stop at different puddles, give them an opportunity to drink. If you're in a group of horses, make sure that if your horse has already had water, that you stay and you wait for your partner behind you while their horse is drinking. Another tip that a lot of people don't think about is when you're out on the trail, take the shaded area to walk. Don't trot through the shaded area. Use that time to cool your horse down, and then trot during the sunny times, during the sunny part of the trail, and cool off in the shade.
Dad, just tell me how important it is to have the right tack for your horse.
Well, it's very important to have the proper feeding tack for your horse for the safety of the rider and for the comfort of the horse. And today we're here with the Dressage Clinic, and so we're going to be giving you the tack tip of the day from a dressage point of view.
I'm Leslie Klein with today's tack tip. The most important tack tip for you is to remember to always wear your hard hat. Horses are naturally kind animals, but anything can happen. It's important to protect your head. The main thing I'm going to talk about today is saddles and the correct placement of the saddle on your horse. It's very important to put your saddle on the correct place of the horse, because in dressage the most important thing about movement is getting the back lifted and the horse able to move through his back. So I'm going to demonstrate correct placement of the saddle. First, you take the saddle and put it along the wither area. This is not where it's going to end up, but you slide back until it stops behind the shoulder. You need to have 2 fingers behind the point of the shoulder and the saddle tree area, which is here. That way there's a correct fit. Now this horse's billets will fall directly to the ground, and Toy has a special girth that helps put the billet placement at what is called the heart girth. Many people make the mistake of putting their saddle too far forward so that the billets fall at the heart girth. This is going to impede the movement of the horse's shoulder and make him uncomfortable in the back. So slide it back to the correct position and talk to your tack dealer about the correct girth for your horse. Main Street Horse and Pet, www.mainstreethorseandpet.com, where we are passionate about the nutrition of your animals. Our specialty is to match the correct nutrition to your horse's needs, temperament, and metabolism to make it perform at its best. You do it. And then the more advanced, we actually start teaching them half steps.
Well, Trisha, tell me a little bit more in detail about dressage.
Well, dressage is really just French for training. Every horse can do dressage, and every horse should do dressage. Really, all we are doing is working on their athleticism. We are teaching them, horses carry 60% of their weight on their forehand and 40% on their rear end in the wild. That's quite wonderful until you put a rider and their tack on. Now you're putting about 50 to 200 pounds over their front end. So you want to actually train them to carry more weight on their haunches. It makes them more athletic, it makes them more responsive, and it doesn't matter whether you're looking to show your horse, whether you're trail riding, whether you want to hunt off your horse. Western pleasure horses do it.
Hunting, or are you talking about hunter or hunting?
Both. Both can do it. Think of this, you're riding down the trail and you're on a narrow trail and you come to some trees. If you pull your horse away from the tree, when you pull their head one way, it throws their body in the opposite direction. So you're actually throwing them into the tree, and your knee's going to get knocked.
Right.
It's much nicer to be able to use your leg and ask them to sidestep away. So it doesn't matter, again, what discipline you're doing, dressage training is beneficial.
DP, I need to teach you how to do that when you got me piled up next to a tree when I take you hunting.
He would make a cute little dressage horse, actually. You're really, all you're doing is you're increasing their athleticism, their responsiveness, and a lot of horses find that it's fun. They get bored just doing trail or just working, especially your horses, your show horses can get very bored. And if you're doing figures and circles and things that are keeping their mind engaged, so it's good not just for their body, but their mind as well.
Well, what level of dressage do we have in this area?
We have riders all the way up to Grand Prix. The national level, the United States Dressage Federation manages the national level. They start at introductory, which is just walk trot, all the way up. Then you do training, 1st through 4th level. And then after 4th level, you get into your international levels that are recognized by the FEI, the Fédération Équestrienne Internationale. Those are Prix St. George, Intermediate 1 and 2, and Grand Prix. Grand Prix is your Olympic level. We have riders of all levels in this area.
I want to add, we've got DP's a 7-year-old Marsh Tacky Stallion. And what age is your mare?
Fancy is 8 years old. I'm sorry, she is 8 years old.
That's just a good demonstration of what a well-trained horse should do. You got a breeding stallion and a mare, and we both have spent a lot of time with these horses, what they should do.
Exactly.
Well, that's really interesting on dressage. So how far have you gone in this field?
Well, I have schooled horses at 4th level and the FEI level, schooled them, not actually shown, gotten to learn about. Fancy is the first one that I've trained through 3rd level on my own with help from my trainer, and I've shown through 2nd level.
Right.
So I'm kind of a little mixture. The horses I schooled at the higher levels were actually not dressage horses, they were jumping horses. They were Aaron Vale, who is an international show jumper from South Carolina. I rode his horses for him, and all his horses were just jumping horses. And all of them were schooling the higher movements of dressage because it made it easier for them to jump and made them better jumpers.
Well, Fancy has a little bit more history. You told me that with the Raven, she was on the track at one time?
She was. She was not successful. She ran twice and was dead last both times.
Well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Isn't that right, Fancy?
Oh, she is a little bit of a scaredy cat. Things scare her, so dressage has really helped her. We would not have been able to be this close to our judges stand when I first got her. She would not be able to get this close to it. She was actually terrified of it. And by various training and getting her more attentive to my aids and to listening to what I wanted to do and being more obedient, she now will go right past it, no problem.
Well, DP, I heard the other day that there was starting some Western dressage.
Yes, there is. They call it...
You might...
I think you would have fun at it. They call it either Western or cowboy dressage. Because again, a well-trained horse, it doesn't matter what saddle you have on the horse. And the Western horses are asked to soften through the bridle. They're supposed to engage their hindquarters. They're supposed to lift their back. They're supposed to bend left and right and be supple and obedient. And it doesn't matter if they're doing an extended gait such as a trot or a slower jog or lope.
If somebody wanted to get in, say, to that, could you help them out? Would you be willing to give them lessons?
Oh yes, we do lessons in that here. Both cowboy dressage, there is also gaited dressage. You can ride gaited horses in it. The Walking Horse Association actually recognizes it, and you can go to any of the local dressage shows and enter and do a test. But if you're on a gaited horse, you can do your horse's gait instead of the walk or the trot. Say if you're on a racking horse, you could walk, you can rack. And then if you have a horse that canters, you can actually do the tests that require a canter.
Well, Trisha, show me a few of those techniques you have.
Okay, we'll try. It usually takes a good long time to warm her muscles up and to get her moving correctly. So if any dressage experts are out there watching, we might not be doing this exact, but we'll get to the idea of what you're supposed to be doing.
Very good.
Girl. So the first thing we're looking for is we want a horse that is pushing from their hind end, that is really marching and using their hind end correctly. A lot of people see the horses and they think we're pulling their heads in. We are not doing that. You do not create a fake headset. What you want is the horse's entire back to be arched and lifting. And then of course you can see it in the head and neck. And so you do that, you ask for a forward energetic march.
I got you.
And so that they're really pushing onto the bridle. And now, I have a double bridle in her mouth. I have 2 bits in her mouth right now. This is a bridle that more advanced horses are going to use. When you're first starting out, you would just have a snaffle bit, or if you're doing cowboy dressage, you could use a curb, but it's just the 1 bit.
So you've got this maintaining this even pressure with your
exactly
reins.
To just push her onto it, and it's not this extra hardware in her mouth that's making her arch her neck. It's her actually lifting over her back and bending. You want her what's called laterally supple, which is where she can bend her spine to either the right or the left, and then longitudinal, which is where her entire back lifts up. And good girl. Good girl.
Well, I want to kind of ease beside you. That'd be all right?
Sure. If you can catch up. Again, you want a nice forward, energetic trot. And of course, she's 16 hands, so it's a little hard to keep up. Good girl. And
I believe DP has taken a fancy to fancy.
I think so. Now, one of the basic movements we teach these horses is something called a leg yield, which is where literally you yield them sideways away from the leg. So she's going to go forward and sideways at the same time. And again, this is something that's beneficial for all horses because it engages their inside hind leg, it helps strengthen it, but it also, like I said, if you're on a trail and your horse is getting close to a tree, you can actually push them away from that tree. Good girl. Now, a more advanced move is called the half pass, where you actually push them sideways
Yeah, DP, you need to learn that.
She's
pushing her side. I got
yeah,
you.
pushing her sideways, and again, she's not warmed up, but off into the pressure from the leg. Good girl.
A lot of the moves you show me, really, if I could teach DP to do it, really would be very beneficial when I'm hunting and I'm in a real tight spot.
Yes.
Move him off leg pressure, which he will a little bit, but not like that.
Right now we're doing a shoulder in, which is where her shoulders come in off the edge of the arena. And now a haunch is in, where her shoulders stay straight and her rear end comes off the edge. Again, just to move her body one way or the other. We'll also ask them to, as they get more advanced, to lengthen their stride and do what are called medium and extended gaits to again get the horse really responsive to your leg. And then
she's keeping her mind on what she's doing with the distraction of having me with the stallion right next to her.
Come on, can you do it? And then the more advanced, we actually start teaching them half steps.
Now,
Good
what do you
girl.
call that right there?
Those are called half steps. That is leading up to what's called a pee-off, which is a trot in place, which is a Grand Prix movement that quite a few horses can make it to 4th level. Quite a few can make it to the FEI levels. But Grand Prix, which is the highest, is very hard. It requires them to very much sit on their haunches. And we're just starting to get her feet moving. Good girl. And it helps engage the hind end because again, you want, as they get more advanced, you want lift through their shoulders and sitting on their hind end. Let's see. And that is the beginning of a Canterpirouette, which is literally a canter turn in place. Good girl. There she can. Good girl. Whoop. Good girl. Good girl.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Again, it's just a matter, and basically all we're schooling is just doing a lot of maneuvers, a lot of changes of direction, a lot of going forward and back in the gaits. Good girl. So that she gets more and more limbered up. All horses are right or left-handed. Fancy is right-handed. It's easier for her to do things to the right than it is to the left. And so our job is to try to make her ambidextrous, basically able to use both her sides correctly. And right now, usually when you're riding, especially if you ride with 2 reins, you can usually feel pressure more in one rein than the other. And that means your horse is crooked. You want the pressure in your reins and the pressure with your legs and seat to be equal both directions.
I've noticed even with the DP that he's more right-handed than left-handed. He works better from one side than the other.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And basically, really all dressage does is it's helping. Yes, you can go and show at the big shows and you can have fancy horses that can do this, but just plain old backyard trail horse can do a little bit of dressage and become a better, more rideable horse. A lot of times a horse, when you're first riding it, it might feel like riding a 2x4, very stiff, doesn't turn one way or the other, back is very jarring. The more dressage work you do, the more supple and relaxed they get, and you can make it a lot more comfortable ride.
So you could take a plain horse and make it fancy.
Yes, I can.
Horse Tales Today is brought to you by Southern Flooring and Interiors. Call them for all of your flooring and decorating needs. And by TMC Construction for your new home or all of your remodeling needs. Call TMC Construction. And by Yogi Bear Fried Chicken, the best fried chicken in the South. And by Chick-A-Ray Poultry, located in Hartsville, South Carolina. And by the South Carolina Horsemen's Council. And by Equestrian Images, making memories together.
Blair, we've had a great hot time out here at Whitehaven Plantation in Bishopville. It's been mighty hot on us today though, but what have you learned?
I've actually learned a lot about dressage riding from the Marius Clinic, and I've learned some great veterinarian tips and some health tips. And folks, if you want to learn more about the clinics offered here, go to whitehavenplantation.com, or if you have any ideas about some upcoming shows for us, visit our website at horsetalestv.com.
Folks, remember, keep your reins low and your hands quiet.
See you next time.